class, welcome to our class. Can you introduce yourself?
I would be happy to introduce myself, although I think you guys all figured it out. I'm Sarah. I'm coming here a little bit different than I used to. I used to be a teacher and a social worker here. Now I am a therapist in town, and I'm coming to talk about a very special topic today with Rylee. Rylee, do you know what's special about April?
April is Autism Awareness Month. I am wearing my t-shirt for Autism Awareness. Be kind. I have also dyed my hair blue for autism. During this month, people will teach others about autism and the importance of being kind to everyone, especially people that have autism.
Can you hear her, what she's saying?
Yeah.
Autism. How many of you knew that April was Autism Awareness Month? Nice, nice. A couple of you, cool. So, Rylee, tell me a little bit about why autism matters to you.
I have autism. ASD stands for Autism Spectrum Disorder. I've always known that I'm different from others, but I didn't know what it meant until recently. I first learned about autism in 6th grade, and last fall I met with a special doctor who told me the official diagnosis. What is autism exactly?
What is autism exactly? How many of you know the answer to that? It's actually a very complex disorder to describe because it's all kinds of different symptoms. If I ask you what are symptoms of autism, would you know?
Sound sensitivity.
Yes, fantastic. Sensitivity to sensory. Sound can absolutely be one of them. Excellent. I didn't think y'all would get that.
Maybe like slow speech.
Speech, communication and speech can be a symptom, absolutely. Thank you. Sometimes that has to do with the way that you say words, and sometimes it has to do with the language, the way you put the words together and form sentences. Thank you. Owen.
A hard time controlling emotions.
Absolutely. You guys know way more than I thought you would know.
Maybe like some movements.
Yes, repetitive movements. What's the smile? Because I'm so excited?
No, I just got it right.
Yes, repetitive movements can be a symptom of autism. Now, I want you guys to know we're listing a lot of different kinds. Not everybody who has autism will have all of these, but you're hitting the nail on the head.
Hard time processing stuff.
Yes, a hard time processing things because people with autism process in a different way. It's not necessarily a bad or a good way, it's just a different way than what I don't want to say we. People with not autism would process. Give me more, you guys are doing great. Do you know anyone who has autism? Do you know other people that may have autism? You may not know that other people have autism. There's a whole spectrum of autism. That's why in the therapy world we call it ASD, Autism Spectrum Disorder, because the people that have autism may look very, very different. For instance, there is a kid in our school that has autism that cannot talk. Not in this school, but in our school district. And we have Rylee, who you probably would never guess just by looking. So the spectrum is different for everyone else. Any other ideas about symptoms? You guys have great ideas.
Maybe like they learn a different way at school.
Yes, yes. Brains work a different way. Okay, so some of the characteristics that are across the board with autism are challenges or differences with social skills, repetitive behaviors, speech, communication. It has to do with the way the brain is made up, and they think differently, therefore they will act differently and respond differently than someone who does not have autism. So we would call that neurotypical. Most of you are neurotypical with your brain development. Rylee's brain development is neurally atypical, which gives her some challenges and some really cool advantages that we're going to talk about too. Okay.
How common is autism?
Any guesses of how common autism is?
25%.
Ooh, interesting. That's higher than what it is. But thank you for guessing. Aiden.
80%.
Okay,
1 in 15.
1 in 15. Okay, those are all really great. The real answer, Tristan, did you have a guess?
17%.
Guys have some very specific numbers. The real answer is we don't know for sure because this is still, there's still a lot of research about this. And as researchers and scientists and health professionals learn more, they're learning that more and more people have autism that maybe were just characterized as odd or strange in the past. They actually have differences in their brain functioning. The CDC, which is the Center for Disease Control, thank you, estimates that 1 in 36. So there's about 36 in your class? 1 in 30. 1 in 36, about. Okay, let's watch, let's do the video now. Rylee and I tried to look online for a video that we felt would be best to describe autism for you. And this is the one we decided on. It interviews different children that are about your age that have autism and what they want other people to know about them. What you'll notice is that all of them are what might be described as higher functioning, which means there aren't the individuals that can't talk or can't speak at all. These are all kids that maybe you couldn't tell by looking at them or watching them that they had autism. Have any of you heard, well, we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about different terms. Let's watch this video.
Autism is really hard to explain for me because I've never really experienced being a normal person, because I did that in quotes because, well, let's face it here, there really is no such thing as normal.
It can be a lot of different things.
It's a spectrum. Not everyone has every single symptom.
You can tell from someone's face if they have autism.
Autism is how someone's brain is wired.
Like, is this part of your perception of the world?
But there's too much people standing around talking, too much noises. It just feels like uncomfortable.
It's lights and sounds that usually do it for me. Like, it's like the entire world is like pressuring you and like crunching onto you, and there's not as much you can do about it except just get out of there.
I don't go to movie theaters. I've never been to a concert. I feel like I'm missing out on a lot of stuff.
I remember very early on, like watching someone scratching at the carpet. Like the feeling sticks when it's really awful, and it's just like.
Some people with autism have a hard time knowing when someone's happy or sad or angry or frustrated.
I wish socializing were easier, definitely. Because there are so many times when I'm with other people who seem to have a natural flow of conversation that they all get, and it almost seems like they have a psychic link with each other at some point that I am locked out of.
If someone with autism is like a quiet kid in a corner or something like that, it's usually because he's questioning himself. So if you see someone like sitting alone or something like that, feel free to go and talk to him. It could help them out a ton. Trust me, I know.
people don't want to be talked down to, first of all.
Well, some people, like teachers and stuff, misunderstand because they don't know that people have autism.
I wish people would understand that autistic people have their own voices.
I wish people wouldn't judge people with autism so harshly.
I want to know which person knows where autism comes from.
Lunch.
I feel like a cure for autism is a complicated subject.
So in order to cure autism, you would have to go into the DNA and genetics of someone and alter it. But that's your basic makeup, so that would probably impact your entire being.
I think if you're autistic, and really the only true cure, I think, is really what I have gotten over the years, which is support and love.
If I could cure autism, I would definitely not. Mainly because of the fact that I want people to be different.
I wouldn't want to cure autism.
I'm really good at a lot of things.
I am good at thinking a lot.
Good at writing stories, like the beginning and endings. I'm just not very good at filling them in.
I'm good at
I'm told I have a pretty good sense of humor. I'd like to think I have a good sense of humor.
I went to music school for 6 years in vocal performance.
I was a 3D animation major for 3 years.
I'm good at
Creative writing, fiction, and medieval fantasy.
fishing, taking a walk, riding my bicycle, playing the piano, taking the train, reading, dancing, no, that's all I have.
A lot of people with autism are able to do something.
I would like to live independently.
I've always wanted to be a writer.
I also want to make the world a better place.
I don't just see one future, I see many possibilities for my future.
People with autism are people, too. That about sums it up.
Did you hear anything new or interesting in that video? I'm not gonna ask you to tell me what it is. I just wanna know if there was new information in that for you. Or did you feel like most of those things you knew already? When Rylee and I were choosing videos, we watched this one and she said, that, I feel like that. I feel like that sometimes. I don't feel like that sometimes. And that just goes to show you that everyone with autism has different symptoms, different experiences. So we're gonna talk just a little bit, if Rylee feels comfortable with this, we're gonna talk about what some of her symptoms have been.
Sometimes I do stimming, which can look like clicks. My stimming can look like clapping or clapping my hands. I used to have stimming that sound like humming. Stimming helps me concentrate and get out energy.
Can you hear what she is saying?
Okay.
Have you heard of that word before, stimming? Stimulation. So sometimes when she is thinking or concentrating, her body does extra movements to help her further, which may look a little bit different for some of us. Maybe we're not used to that. Sometimes stimming can be motions with the hands. Sometimes stimming can be sounds with her mouth. And if we aren't expecting that, or if we don't know, it might be like, oh, what's Rylee doing? But if you understand and recognize that that's a behavior that she does that helps her, we can all be more tolerant and learn and accepting of that. So right now she was doing something with her hands. You guys ever seen her do that?
Yes.
Yeah. Have you ever wondered what she's doing?
No.
Okay. Well, that's the word for it, and that is something that helps her just concentrate or manage her anxiety. Tell us more.
I also think differently than everyone. I think in both images and words. I can get stuck on one thing that I like a lot. For example, I really like Venom and other symbiotes.
So one thing that people with autism tend to do sometimes is with their brain, instead of thinking in words, they think in pictures. And if you're interested in learning more about this, there's an excellent TED Talk online with Temple Grandin. It's actually, she's down here on the bottom right next to Karen. That's Temple Grandin. How many of you have heard of Temple Grandin? Oh boy. I could talk for a week on her. If you are ever interested in learning about an interesting person, she has autism and has done amazing and brilliant things. But she does speaking on autism, and she explains very interestingly how someone with autism will think in pictures instead of words, and what that looks like and feels like. Another characteristic of autism is a very deep interest in one subject, like concentration and discovery into a subject that most of us don't really have the patience to do. So when you meet people that have autism, they may have what I like to call a special interest. And so Rylee talked a little bit about her special interest. She says, sometimes I get stuck on it. I like to say extra concentration, because she can focus on this one subject much longer and in much more depth than a typical brain. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that, but did you guys catch what one of her special interests is? Did you guys know that she had that interest?
Yes.
Yes, so it's starting to kind of make sense. You will be amazed when you see some of the, and hear about some of her projects with this. Okay, tell us another one.
I have sensory sensitivity. I am more sensitive than a typical person to light, sound, and touch. Sometimes I jump for loud noises or when I'm touched.
So I think Tuff said the sensitivity to sounds. So that is one of Rylee's sensitivities, is to sounds. So something that might sound just like kind of loud or whatever to us might really make her jump.
Making friends is also hard for me. People with autism sometimes have trouble with social skills and communication. Most of the time, I prefer to be by myself.
So, Rylee, I have kind of a tough question, and it's not one that we practice, but I want to see if you can answer it. One of the kids on the video said, if you see us by ourselves, come talk to us. We'd like that. And everyone's different. So I'm guessing some of you have seen Rylee by herself at times. Rylee, would you feel the same way? Would you want these people to come and talk to you and visit with you?
Kinda.
Not a clear answer, yes or no.
It's a 50-50.
50-50. Do you feel like you could tell them if they came and tried to talk to you? Could you say, I just want to be alone right now?
Sure.
It's always a kind thing to reach out to someone that's alone, though, and checking, seeing if they want company, if they want a friend or not. Okay. While you guys were watching the video, she and I put on our blue ribbons for autism awareness. Tell me a little bit about why this is so important to you. Why did you ask to come speak to this class about autism awareness?
I want more people to know about autism, and I want people to treat everyone as they would like to be treated with kindness. Are there any advantages of having autism?
There are lots of advantages. We have talked a little bit about disadvantages or challenges that somebody might face with autism. But like I started to talk about, people with autism have almost super skills when it comes to concentration and focus and working on things. Sometimes people with autism can be very particular about their work and the projects that they work on, and complete amazing detailed projects that a typical neurodevelopment mind would struggle with. Do you guys know famous people that have autism? Tell me who.
One just slipped my mind.
I don't know his name, but there's this kid on TikTok. He can solve like really insane math problems.
Okay, so his special interests and special skills might be related to that. Who else do you guys know that has autism, famous-wise? Karen?
I don't know anybody, but I know that they can be like really creative, and a lot of like really famous people that are creative and stuff had autism.
You are right. You are right. When I searched what famous people have autism, there's a whole list of people that probably fit those characteristics. The general person can't just diagnose someone. And some of those people may or may not know if they have autism, may or may not want to share that. But Temple Grandin is one of the most outspoken women in the area that speaks about autism and is very famous for her work. She has done work with animals, and she has a brain that can kind of sympathize with animals and understands what animals go through. So what she has learned, she's designed things that have helped more humanely allow farmers to work with animals. Elon Musk. He was recorded saying that he has Asperger's.
What is that?
What is that? Kind of a funny word. How many of you know that word, Asperger's? Okay. And you guys aren't giggling, which shows a lot of maturity. Most of the time when I say Asperger's, people are like, what? What's Mrs. Kraft saying? Asperger's is a term that we used to use to describe high-functioning autism. So again, there's this whole spectrum, and some people aren't able to communicate at all. And some people are very, very highly successful and can communicate really well. And so Asperger's is a term that is sometimes used for people on this high end of autism. Another term is high functioning autism. 2 years ago, in the therapy world and clinical world and health world, they changed those diagnoses. So we don't talk about Asperger's and low functioning. We just talk about a spectrum, ASD, autism spectrum. So Asperger's used to be referred to that, and Elon Musk has said that he has Asperger's. Surprising? Kind of? Okay, I told you that we were going to talk a little bit about Rylee's special skills when it comes to the way her brain works. And you guys all said that you know her interest in venom. Does that sound right? Do you know that she writes stories?
I did a count. It was 20, and I've written 18 out of 20 of them.
So she's saying that she's written 18 books. Is this an example of one?
Yep, brought two.
So these are books that Rylee writes about characters that she makes up. And one time I tried to count the characters in her fantasy world, and it was over 100. So you might say, okay, so 100. No, she knows the name of every single one of these characters. She has drawn most of the characters. She knows every superpower and weakness of every one of these characters, and she knows the bloodline. So one day we tried to do a genealogy thing where we started with the parents and then the kids and then the kids, and I got lost because she, in her mind, has tracked who everyone is, how they are related to each other, what their backstory is, what their age is, who they've been in a relationship with, who their enemies are, and it blows my mind every single time. So she has like 18 of these going at the same time.
Yep.
Different stories about these different characters. So this one is Slasher and Jill. And just to get you an idea, she has the narrative talk between each of these characters for pages and pages and pages. Some of these are more full than others. You must have just started on that one. Of storyline and backstory and dialogue. It is fascinating. And she knows exactly who she's writing about and how they're connected and who their sister is and who their brother is and what happened 100 years ago and what's happening in the future. She also is very talented with drawing. Did you hear one of the characters say that she likes to write?
Yeah.
Made me think of Rylee. How many of you think that you would have this amount of writing at home? Okay, Kara's a writer.
Yeah, I'm working on a story right now. I just have writer's block and I can't finish it.
You ever have writer's block?
Yeah, especially with my 20 online ones on my iPad. I have 24 stories on my iPad.
So we just chose a small collection of some of her symbiotes that she has. Some are based on real characters, many are from her head. So can I hold one up and you tell us just a little bit about this one? Who's this?
That's Venom. She's my very first one I created.
Tell us a little bit about her.
She's 959 years old. She is the Queen of Venus, and she has 22 children.
And if I asked her to tell you, she would tell you all the 22 children's names.
Yep,
In that order.
Yep, and 51 brother, and 51 siblings, 25 brothers and 26 sisters.
Who is this?
That's Mayhem, her husband. He's the thing about Venus and Mars is they rank their anger by rage, and Mayhem ranks first for the most enraged being in the whole entire universe.
Does he have children?
Yep, 22 with Venom.
22 children just with Venom.
Yep.
You could go through their names. She knows it.
That is Neon, Venom's niece.
This is my favorite one. Tell us about Neon.
Neon is bonded to is Furious, is daughter, Venom's younger sister, and Neon can make herself glow any type of color from like colors you wouldn't expect. Like
Does she have any weaknesses?
Yep, sound and fire.
Sound and fire. Who's this?
That's Shadow Vanquisher, one of Venom's general of her whole entire army. And
Tell us about Vanquisher.
Vanquisher is a hybrid. She is part dwarf planet and Venus.
What do you mean tell us what you mean by dwarf planet.
Dwarf planet, like one of the dwarf planets. I didn't know how many there were, so I accidentally added a bunch of other planets. Instead, I don't want to change because it's my own world. And
It's your own world, yeah.
Yep.
Tell us about this green coming.
That's her power. It's like a type of gas she can use to control people and create any material like minerals, glass, clay, or even fabric.
Does she have weaknesses?
Yep, sound and fire.
Sound and fire also, okay.
Yeah. Like, if
Who's
you
this?
guys have ever watched like Spider-Man, Marvel movies, there are like different universes, so I kind of made another universal version of one of my symbiotes. That's another version of Mayhem.
So this is another version of Mayhem.
Yep. I'm very proud of that one for the blending because it's hard to blend stuff a little.
And this one is fused with
another symbiote.
Singe.
Yep.
So what part is Singe and what part is Mayhem?
Technically, that's just Mayhem. Mayhem and Singe are separated. Okay, that's then we got Earth.
This is one of my favorites. Check out her clothing, or her torso. You can kind of see Earth on it.
Yep.
Tell us about Queen Earth.
Queen Earth is as old as Earth, which makes her 4.5 billion years old. And she has spider characteristics from the golden tendrils, and she can spit webbing and has venom in her teeth. She can even change her own color.
How many characters do you think you have?
Over Hero.
Oh, I mean like on your iPad.
I want to say like 4. I want to say maybe 32.
How many do you have more in your head?
I want to say over 1,000 that I've actually memorized.
Anyone impressed with these skills? See what I mean? How Rylee's brain can work in an amazing way. Different than many of ours, but amazing. Oh, sorry.
Twice.
We forgot this one.
Nope, that's the same one. You printed it twice.
Oh, I printed twice. I'm sorry. Good grief. Okay, so our goal here today was to talk to you about autism to help you learn a little bit more about who Rylee is and how special her brain works, and to raise awareness about tolerance for all different types of people. How do you think we did? Did you guys learn at least one thing about our goals here today? What would be a takeaway for you that was like, oh, cool, I didn't know that?
How many characters?
How many characters she has?
Store stuff in your mind and never go.
Yeah.
That she can store all of that in her mind? Yes, it blows it hurts my brain when she starts talking about this. And then she's like, I already told you about that character and their father and their sister and why they're fighting. And I'm like, I don't remember. My brain doesn't work like yours, Kara.
How different, but also how similar to some of us.
Yes. Yes. Tristan, you were gonna say something.
Her memorization skills.
Yes.
Like I've been thinking of Venom ever since 5th grade, meaning I've thought of each character for 3 years. It never slipped my mind once in those 3 years.
Other things you learned today? I chose to highlight symbiotes today because that's one that just blows my mind with her, but she has other special interests.
I like Pokemon. Me and my sister have like 3 containers filled with cards. I like dinosaurs, dragons. That's all like, kind of like, and reptiles. I love reptiles.
We have ribbons for each of you if you would choose to. You don't have to, but if you would be interested in raising awareness for autism and sharing and teaching others about autism and tolerance, we would invite you to take one. Wear it today, wear it next week, wear it anytime you want. It's a great conversation starter because people will say, are you wearing a ribbon? And you can say, actually, I'm wearing it for autism awareness. And share some information that you learned today. What can we as Rock Hills do to help students in our school that have autism?
More understanding.
Be patient.
Mm-hmm.
New clubs, like to like help them like with their creativeness. Like have clubs to like help them with that so they can share it more and stuff.
I love it.
Have
How
more
cool.
friends
Some
to
schools,
share.
some schools even do Spirit Week on this
Yeah.
stuff.
On autism, yeah, there's schools that have chosen autism to raise awareness, but how cool would it be to have more clubs that included your interests?
Especially through an art club, because I'm getting better at my sketching.
Like a club where you could just go and work on your symbiotes and write stories?
Yep.
How cool. Yes,
I think
Tristan?
going more off what Kara said, like writing clubs, and everything else like other schools have.
I know there is creative writing in high school, but they don't have it for junior high.
Be cool to have some more clubs though. And you know, in some larger schools, clubs are started by students. There's a process to start them, but this is how clubs start. They have an interest, they want to advocate for something, they want to raise awareness, and so students choose to start up clubs. So those of you that are in Stuco or interested in school leadership may consider finding ways to meet the needs of a lot of different students. Maybe even some that have autism. Do you have any other questions for me or for Rylee? When I was her age, there was no way I would have been able to stand here and talk to people about who I was. She is so brave, and I'm going to start out a round of applause for her. Do you have any other final messages for this class?
That's okay.
That's okay. All right, thank you guys for letting us come and visit with you. If you would like, come get a ribbon. You don't have to. Next time you see Rylee